1997 through 2001. Wow. Gonna tear this down. Playing in this gym, standing room only, for 5 years, you couldn't get in here. When they said if you could play at Rancho, you could play anywhere, that was very true. A lot of these young men went on to play in college. Some played overseas, and some are playing in the pros, you know? That first one was hard, really hard, because that was probably the biggest spectrum. You know, I was playing in the sports arena, the hoopla, the crowd. That was special. I think the team that I remember the most was that team. We only had 7 players. What was it like to 7 players? It was special. We had rules, like no press. You get a foul, you come out. For the first half, we had rules. We knew if we got to the second half and we were close, we would win. That's how we felt. We had super talent. 3 guys on that team were really, really skilled. It was a question of, could we not be in foul trouble when it counted? Because coming down the fourth quarter, we always won. If we had been able to press and do the things we normally did, nobody would have come within 20 points of us. But we had some nail biters, that's for sure. Teams went out and recruited just to beat us. But, you know, we were able to hold on. Well, most of that, 3 of those players were football players. One was a baseball player, and then we had Gabe Pruitt played. He went on and played with the Celtics. And he was our really only key player. He and Morrison, they did great things as far as high school and going on, but they were a good team. Okay. I like those guys. They had heart. They played with heart. Because they believed that they were better than everybody. And what would happen with them? They get a lead, then they relax, and then they get behind. But they played hard. They played real hard.
Okay, let's go down the list. Kyle
Gibson.
Tell me what he brought.
Kyle brought leadership. Kyle was probably the most experienced player on that team. He brought leadership. Jared Cooper was just a fire plug. Played hard. Hanif, boy. Hanif was a Kevin Durant kind of player. He could shoot it. Marlon was a steel man. Marlon Yates. Martin was a hard guy. He just played hard. Calvester was a big guy. He didn't really play big, but he rebounded pretty good. Freddie was a hustler, a good defender. Marquise was our scorer. Delton was a scorer. Jeremiah was a little bit of everything. He brought football to the basketball court. He played like a football player on the basketball court. He never stopped. And Grant Sharan was kind of he was a smart player. He didn't make many mistakes. He was never going to hurt you. That team, like I say, that team they were special because they believed in each other. They believed in each other. I don't really remember them getting after each other too often. Some of the other teams got after each other in workouts and so forth. That team, they really had a cavalier attitude.
So would you say they had great chemistry?
No, they just played harder than everybody else. And we had depth. That was a team. That team had depth. We didn't have a lot of size, but they had depth. We probably had 9 guards. that team just had depth. Like I say, Kyle was experienced. Jeremiah played like a football player. Marquise played like a scorer. Those are guys that I had been using in my traveling team when we were developing those programs. So they kind of had played with each other, trying to figure it out. Everybody else, we just kind of put them in and let them play. 3 minutes here, 2 minutes there. I don't think we really had a set rotation. They played hard. That's what I loved about that team. They played hard. I always believed if we got to the championship game, we would win. Getting there sometime was tough. But when we got there, I believe they thought that we would win. We were always prepared, even though the court was a lot larger than they were used to, which was probably worked to our advantage more so than anybody else. To our detriment because we liked the press, so smaller courts worked better for us. But the sports arena, it was just a special time to be there with the Clippers hosting and get a chance to be around the NBA players and, take pictures with them after the game and have the different musical groups come out. It was a special time. And during that time, we had a lot of issues in LA. Gang violence was off the hook. So it gave these young men something to look forward to and kept them out of trouble. I just remember probably the game that stood out to me as that I remember we were playing against Dave's team in the playoffs here, and we were losing, and they were killing us, and we were losing, and Darren wasn't here with us. And he came running in with 5 minutes to play, and we're down by 15, and we end up winning in overtime. I'll never forget that game because this gym was just packed. It's nothing like the standing room only in this gym, and the snack bar open, and the smell of the chicken. There's nothing like it. People would come far, far away just to be here. Kids, this was the place to be. In Southern California basketball, this was the place to be during that 20-year span. You can look at some of these names, and these names stand out across college. These kids went on to do some good things. Most of them stayed out of trouble. That meant the most to me. Find a kid that remembers you when you don't remember every kid you coached. You're having a tough time, you're in the hospital with somebody and they remember you. I'll never forget that. Some kids that remembered you, said good things about you, make you feel good. Yeah. It wasn't for nothing. Rancho was family. Every parent. There are a few parents that just made this place home. It was home. From 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday till 9 o'clock at night. There were a lot of games. I spent a lot of time in this gym. I know that a lot of young men, I have to let them know that the gym is closing. They want to come and run in this gym before it gets closed. I hate to see it go. Hate to see it go. One of the biggest battles was when one of the parents wanted to fight one of the refs. Said, "I'll meet you outside." That was a story that you had to be here to enjoy it. The game was back and forth. It was one of those games, and it was a championship game for the park, and it was back and forth, and it was close. And one of the parents thought the ref wasn't giving them a fair day, fair shake on the calls, and told him, "I'll meet you outside." And the gym went quiet. And I think probably the most chilling thing that I ever remember that stands out is when one of the parents was fussing at their son on the court, whose name I'm not going to mention. And the son finally stood up and told his parent to sit down and shut up. It was classic. It was classic. Okay, I remember like it was yesterday, because I never ever in my wildest dream would have thought that young man would have ever said anything back to his father. Ever. Ever. That was probably one of the most, it just lets you know that kids grew up here. They grew up here, and they got tired of listening to overbearing parents. Let them know, hey, let me do what I'm doing. I got a coach over there. Let my coach coach me. You watch. I was fortunate to have a lot of group of parents that were very supportive. Because when I first started, coaching basketball was something new. It wasn't something I had done a lot of. So I had to put in a lot of work away from here to be able to prepare myself to prepare the kids. So I took a lot of pride in that. And it showed by the banners. Sometimes, you didn't know how you were going to win. How you going to win? Believe in something. Because nobody gave us a chance. Coming from here, they didn't believe we could win. We weren't disciplined enough. We couldn't run. All we could do was press. We couldn't run a play. That's what the Rancho rule was. If you can't run a play at Rancho, you can beat them. They can't run plays. A lot of times we didn't have to either. But when we needed to, that was important. A lot of that started right here in bitty basketball. A lot of concepts started back when I was introduced to basketball here. Like, what is that? What's 5-year-olds? What are they doing? Now I got a book that says, the art of basketball, the way to teach young kids. I'll just say my experience with these young men at Rancho has been special. I started here in probably 1995 with bitty basketball, and some kind of way I ended up being a coach. It was not my plan, that's for sure. It wasn't my plan. Hey, you got me into that, Kurt. And Cedric. Remember Cedric? Cedric, oh man, we need a coach. Man, please, I'm enjoying sitting in the stands, watching my child play. It's a special place. I hate to see them tear it down. It's unfortunate that they won't build another gym adjacent to it. So for me, I guess once I figured out what it was I was trying to do, it wasn't always about winning, it was about trying to develop them to be caring of one another and considerate of one another. That was a special part. There were a lot of good people that donated time to this program. And the children were the beneficiaries of it. And I felt really good about the small part that I played in helping them to get to their goals. And I didn't know how we were always going to get there, but it was still a lot of fun. Nah, man, I love this place. I miss it. Late nights,